Welcome back, everyone, to Finding Fitness Foundations of Strength and Conditioning. I'm Logan Baker. I'm excited to be back here again doing another session with everyone. So, um, today, for the educational component, we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition and supplementation. I call this session the science of nutrition and supplementation, kind of just making one point and then giving a little bit of general advice from my experience and my perspective. So, there might not be a more hotly contested topic in the world of health and wellness than the one we're going to broach today. So with that in mind, I want to try and have this conversation, based around best practices and strictly within the realm of science. I think that's a great way to kind of cut out some of the noise. It's something that I've found beneficial just in other pursuits, even to kind of focus more on things that are more verifiable as opposed to following trends or influencers and that type of thing. So, um, the question of the day is, who are the real experts in the world of nutrition? So, there are various people with various levels of qualifications floating around offering different forms of diet and nutrition coaching. Some of them require very little education, some require none at all, some require extensive education. And while education isn't the end all and be all to getting the answers that you need, having nutrition advice rooted in science and customized for your body and your physiological demands and the unique circumstances specific to you um, seems, in my opinion, to be the optimal way forward. And in order to have all of those kind of boxes counted for, you need to hire a dietitian. So a dietitian is a registered dietitian. They have 4-year bachelor's degree and then do another 2 years to become a registered dietitian. As people are like, these individuals are very well educated on the science of nutrition, starting from molecular level, going all the way through into the practical application of it. They understand how to adapt diets for people with different conditions, um, for different performance goals, basically like a very, very, very broad spectrum of individuals that they understand the kind of needs that their body requires. So they're for both healthy and sick individuals, and they can really, really, really give you something tangible, based in science, something sustainable and long term. There's no shaming. There's no, none of the some of the things that you see with people who are using maybe their own physique as a selling point for their nutrition coaching, or who are have done like a weekend course or something like that. What I will say on this topic too, though, is that that doesn't mean that other people can't have a meaningful relationship with you and help you in terms of your nutrition. Sometimes all you need is accountability. Sometimes you need just a little structure and no major changes from what you're doing. And there are other types of people who can give, who can guide you along in this journey. But if you really want the most legitimate advice and the most personalized and rooted in science type of advice, a registered dietitian can get you there. So that would be my advice. If you really, really, really want to know more about the science of nutrition and supplementation, you should absolutely see a registered dietitian, um, especially one that has firsthand experience or reaching the goals that you're looking for, or that have experience working with people who are pursuing the same types of things you are, whether that's athletic performance or weight loss or muscle gain or any of these types of things. So, as a certified strength and conditioning specialist, speaking of different designations and the varying levels of qualification, I'm qualified to speak on nutrition, but it is by no means my area of expertise. Like I've spent a lot of time trying to eat well and eating healthy and eating for performance, but I am by no means an expert. I have some good ideas, but I would not feel comfortable, giving absolute advice. So what I've done today, because I know this is a topic that would come up over the course of doing a Foundations of Strength and Conditioning class or program, is kind of came up with 10 little foundational concepts. Something that I've talked about a lot is, foundational things, perspective things. We've talked about the macro and the micro of different things. And so I'm kind of just doing the same thing with nutrition. So my 10 foundational concepts for improving and optimizing nutrition, something that's kind of applicable for most people. A variety of fruits, vegetables, grains, seeds, nuts, and protein sources are the foundations of a healthy diet, bar none. Those are the types of things that make up the gist of just about every healthy diet. Two, a consistent eating schedule is not only good for your energy levels, meaning you're getting, you're intaking proteins and carbs and fats steadily throughout the day. It also provides a good structure for your diet. So, you know, you can compare and contrast extremes, kind of always puts these things in context. Eating one massive meal a day is tough. It's challenging to eat it all. There's probably going to be a period of discomfort afterwards, like gastrointestinal discomfort, trying to digest all this food that you just intook. There's varying, agreements and disagreements about how nutrients are absorbed following a meal like that. Again, I'm not the expert in this topic, but it's highly contested. It seems like having, and especially having breakfast, like eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and having a snack at the end of the day, or just anything to kind of sustain your energy level or kind of to match the amount of, output you're having through the day seems, and in my experience, has been a very sustainable type of structure for nutrition. Avoiding restrictive diets and regimens that you don't genuinely believe are sustainable. So, ketogenic diets are popular, and there's validity in those diets, and they can definitely help you lose weight. But it's about finding sustainable a sustainable structure for nutrition. And notice I don't say dieting. Like you want to be able to eat well, and then you can decide to move in certain directions. But you have to have that foundation there first of eating well, and then you can decide, okay, for the next 8 weeks I'm going to do something very regimented because I have this specific goal. But you have to have this baseline established, kind of the same way that you have to learn about movement quality before you can start lifting heavy weights in the gym. You have to have some sort of baseline of nutritional a nutritional baseline before you can start manipulating and manipulating different variables to have different outcomes. So establishing that baseline, having a variety of healthy foods, fresh foods, and a good eating schedule, start like that and then go from there. My next piece of advice, four, buy a stainless steel water bottle or any type of water bottle, but I would recommend stainless steel because it keeps things nice and cold, and bring it everywhere. That's your main source of liquid. Not to say you can't have anything else. Again, I'm not totally opposed to restrictive diets, but I mean, I'm not saying you should only ever drink water, but that should be like the foundation of your hydration. A point that I left off of the restrictive diets: juice cleanses and the different types of cleanses and challenges. While they do have appeal and sometimes they can be good in terms of a placebo or just kind of the camaraderie of doing it with other people, don't have any, generally, as far as I understand, don't have any meaningful health benefits. So I'd avoid those. They're typically very expensive, or especially if you're buying a product from a company. Again, start with that foundation and build from there. 5, calculate your rough caloric needs and calculate roughly what that looks like for a day of your usual eating. So there's lots of calorie calculators that they take into account your height, your body weight, your age, your gender, and then your activity levels, and kind of give you a general idea. And just that general idea is a really good starting point, unless you want to get very serious with it, in which case, again, I would say find a dietitian, do a consultation, and they will get you sorted out very, very in a very organized manner. But if you're looking for something more general, figure out your rough caloric needs, calculate roughly what that looks like in a day of your usual eating. So not putting in these foods that you've never cooked before or never eat, don't ever eat. Like, say you intake 2,500 calories in a day. Find out what that looks like with like your usual breakfast, like what portion it looks like, your usual lunch, your usual dinner, your usual type of snacks. Like, of course, like ideally in a more healthy way, but just understand kind of like what that whole day of eating looks like. It gives you some context to kind of, again, have that foundation to build off. There are other factors, but generally, this is what I was just speaking about. This is point number 6. Calories in versus calories out is a great starting point for manipulating your nutrition. So finding that baseline, again, calculate the rough caloric needs, calculate roughly what that looks like with the foods you eat, and then kind of you can start from there. There's a lot of discussion about nutrient timing. So my point for my number 7 is just some general tips about nutrient timing. So avoiding fatty or fibrous foods prior to exercise. Generally, causes gastrointestinal discomfort. So, things that take longer to digest or things that are higher in caloric density just make it harder for your stomach to, be active and digest food at the same time. So you want to have, generally eat lighter, more around carbohydrates and proteins, closer to bouts of exercise. Prior to exercise, proteins and carbohydrates as well to replenish glycogen stores and begin repairing the muscle fibers that you've fatigued and replenishing, your energy level or your energy systems after that exercise. So carbohydrates and proteins kind of before and after workouts, and avoiding fatty and fibrous foods prior to, in order to just keep your stomach feeling all right while you are participating in your exercise. Number 8, allow yourself flexibility to enjoy food that you want. Food is a huge part of our culture, our human experience, and our social life. Restricting that in the name of a number on a scale is like the long term, not a sustainable thing. So be moderate. I'm not saying go and stuff your face and take it as an excuse to absolutely blow up everything that you've been working on. But everyone has different levels of like varying levels of commitment and stuff, and some people just are not the type of people that are able to say, you know what, I'm going to take it off. But really, it's really good. It's healthy for you to be able to say, hey, you know what, I'm going over to my nana's house for her delicious pasta, or I'm going to my favorite restaurant and I have this dessert or this appetizer I love, and like treat yourself, like have it. I think that's part of a sustainable relationship with your nutrition. 9, meal prepping is a great way to remove a lot of the guesswork from your dieting, and it saves time and energy. So, cooking your lunches for the week, or prepping like a dinner, but making it for like tonight and the next night, or even 3 nights, really takes away a lot of the stress related to making sure you're eating the way that you're trying to eat. 10, my final point, don't bother with supplementation until you have a consistent and healthy relationship with your eating. So, just don't get going on all the pre-workout supplements and all the meal replacements and this and that before you kind of have that foundation, that baseline that we just kind of finished talking about. So those are my 10 kind of 10 foundational concepts for improving and optimizing nutrition. And again, my main takeaway would be like, if you really are committed to doing that, is go to find a registered dietitian and get something personalized for your individual needs. So yeah, that's the spiel, the educational component for today's session. So before we go ahead and go into the training session, I'll open it up to anybody here for questions. And if there aren't any, then we'll get into today's workout.
That's good information, Logan. I love the way that you approach that. There's so much content out there on social media that tries to lead us in different directions, and you have to really filter through the information, where it's coming from, and how they're selling it. So I love your approach there. Very, very wise. And if nothing else, folks, remember, drink water. It's foundational. Drink your water.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is. There's so much this and that in the world of strength and conditioning, in the world of health and wellness and nutrition. It's really hard to even know what, a lot of times there's an ulterior motive. Usually it's a financial one, or it's an image one, but usually kind of comes back to money. So it's hard to find advice that doesn't have some sort of like really strong implicit like bias in it. So yeah, you need to have a foundation for things, and then you can kind of go from there.
That's a good point. And I just wanted to make a point here too. I like what you touched on, like whether they're using their own physique to sell their plan or what they're offering. And I think, folks, what we really have to understand is we could all work out in the same regime. We could all have the same diet, and our bodies would look completely different. So really, everything, you have to find something that's suited to you and that is right for you. So just make sure you keep that in mind as you're filtering through all the content that's online, and that is, it's not one size fits all ever. So anyways, thanks, Logan. I just want to say that real quick.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm glad that you see that too. It's hard to see, a lot of people struggle with those types of things. So yeah, it's
absolutely,
it's a big issue culturally right now, is like people's relationship with nutrition and how they perceive it because of some of the people that they see on their phones every day, and how they market themselves and market different things.
Great point.
Okay. All right, so we will get into today's training session, and I am going to, today what we're going to do is just kind of a more general session. We're going to kind of focus on some tempos today. So a tempo meaning like we're using different rates of in the eccentric and some isometric holds while we're changing direction. So eccentric is the lowering phase of a movement, isometric is when you're completely still, and the concentric is when like the prime mover muscles are in action. So make it simple. And then in a squat, in the eccentric motion, you're lowering yourself. The isometric would be the very bottom when you're stopped at the bottom of your squat, and the concentric would be when you're actually standing up. So yeah, we're going to kind of lean into that concept a little bit today through the exercises. You'll see it as kind of a general theme. We're going to start off with our warm up. It's going to be good morning and posture press with the dowel, and then if you don't have the dowel, just use your hands. And then we're going to do Cossack squats and the crossover toe touch as well. So I'm just going to move my chair and get set up here, and we'll get going. And I have to grab my dowel. All right. There we go. Okay. So for the good morning and the posture press, we're going to start like this. Kind of just outside of shoulder width grip. Bend the knees, push the hips back and tip over. Do the back nice and flat. We're going to do 5 like this. Kind of 3 seconds on the way down and then pop back up. 1, 2, 3. Big stretch in the hamstrings. Back up. 2. 1, 2, 3. Back up. 1, 2, 3. Back up. I'm keeping my elbows back here, keeping my chest up and looking straight forward. 1, 2, 3. Back up. Okay. And then from here, we're going to press the dowel up over our head, and then we're going to lower it down. We're going to take 4 seconds to lower it. This is called posture press. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keeping that chin away from your chest, pulling your elbows back behind you. Good. Down like that. Awesome. Now the next thing that we're going to do is the Cossack squat and crossover hamstring stretch. So we're going to step out to the side, push back, underneath, touch toes. We're going to do 3 on this side and then 3 on the other side. 2, 3, come over here, same thing. 2, 3. Great. All right. Okay, so we're going to take a second here. So we've been doing these kind of sessions a little bit condensed. So I'll demonstrate 1 round, but I would recommend if you're doing this workout with us to do a second round of that warm up. So take about a minute break, and then we go into another round of the good morning posture press, and then the Cossack squat and the crossover toe touch. So just take a second here, and then we're going to go into our first training sequence of the day. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, so our first training sequence of the day, we're going to do a tempo prisoner squat. So I think that's a really funny name, but basically you have your hands behind your head like this. I would like to give it a better name, but I don't have one off the top of my head. Tempo prisoner squat. We're going to do 4 seconds on the way down, 2 seconds on the bottom, and then stand back up. So now we're incorporating an isometric tempo into this movement. In the good morning and the posture press, we only use an eccentric tempo. This time we're going to combine the eccentric tempo with an isometric tempo as well. So we're going to do 4 seconds down, 2 seconds at the bottom, then stand up. We're going to do 6 reps of that, and then we're going to combine that with a mountain climber with a 5-second iso hold when we raise our knee up. So what you'll see is I'll be in the push-up position. I'm going to drive my knee up towards my chest on one side, hold it there for 5 seconds. Excuse me, and then lower it and switch legs and do the same thing. So for that, we're going to do 3 reps per side. So a total of 6 reps again. Okay. Take a second here. Looks good there. Do this every time. All right. So the prisoner squat, feet just outside of shoulder width, hands on your head like this, elbows out, and we're going to squat down 4 seconds and then pause in the bottom 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and back up. Same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and back up. That's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, back up. Really try and pull your elbows back. It's a way to increase the difficulty here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, back up. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and back up. Good. Now we're going to go into the mountain climber with the iso hold. I'm just going to turn the camera down a little bit more here. So we have a 5-second hold on each side. Here. Drive the knee up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Excuse me. So again, for this sequence, I would recommend doing 2 to 3 rounds, again, for just based on the time constraints we have for running the session. I typically demonstrate just 1 round. So take the time now, either pause the video or while I'm resting to perform another round. And then we'll move on into sequence 2. So for sequence 2, we're going to be doing an exaggerated reaching lunge step with a 5-second isometric hold. So in this movement, we're going to be bringing our knee up as high as we can, stepping out as far as you can, and you're going to have your hands reaching up over your head. When you put your front foot down, you're going to hold that position with your hip low for 5 seconds and then push back up. We're going to do 3 of those per side. So it's like a very, very big and exaggerated lunge with our hands reaching up. So in a pretty vulnerable position, you really challenge your stability being down in that lunge position. We'll do 3 per side. And then we're going to combine that with the bird dog, which we've definitely done a few times before in these sessions. We're going to hold a 5-second isometric hold in extension and do 3 per side for that as well. We'll take a minute here, and then we'll go into that. While we're sitting here, I'm just kind of thinking more about the nutrition side of things, and I think like the really, really big thing that I really hope that anyone watching this can kind of take away from this session is that building something sustainable is absolutely the most vital and important part of nutrition, and it really applies to your training routine as well. So just not getting too down on yourself if you have a few bad days of nutrition or a few bad days of not exercising or a few weeks even. Just keeping that long-term perspective, like I want to be healthy, I want to eat well, I want to exercise, I want to take care of my body and my well-being. And so if you have those in mind and you genuinely are committed to that, then it'll come. So you just have to keep going, keep working towards those things. Give yourself more credit for the things you do well, and don't be so hard on yourself for your shortcomings or the times when you don't prioritize those things. So keep that long-term perspective, and every time you do something well, appreciate yourself for that, as opposed to I think people a lot of times really focus on the negatives when it comes to their health and their nutrition. And so try and kind of flip that dynamic a little bit, and that mentality shift will really benefit you in the long run. All right, so we're going to get into sequence 2 here. So again, we're going to do the exaggerated reaching lunge step with a 5-second iso hold, and then the bird dog, same thing, 5-second iso. We're going to do 3 per side for each of them. This tip down just a little bit more here. There we go. All right. I'm going to start just like this, reaching up, my knee up, step out as high and as long as I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step back, same thing. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Okay, now we're gonna go into the bird dogs. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Again, just make sure you can see me. So you're on your hands and your knees. You're gonna reach out in front of you and reach back with the other leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Awesome. All right. Welcome back, Mike Haynes. Excuse me. So yeah, so that's the exaggerated reaching lunge step. It's a really good exercise. So a little bit of unilateral stability when you're lifting your knee up, and a good, again, like some a stability challenge. Keeping your torso very upright by reaching upwards. It's putting your thoracic spine in a good and strong position where it has to work to stay upright, and challenging your hips and your knees and your ankles to get into a really big lunge position and kind of hold it there and be stable. So a lot of different proprioception going on there. Really good body weight exercise when you're talking about working with little equipment. That's a really really great exercise, challenging a lot of different components of your fitness. And the bird dog as well. One of the more underrated core exercises in my eyes. Does a lot for your lower back and also just your posture in general, having to create that contralateral stability in the quadruped position. So something really good for your whole posterior chain. So the muscles all up and down your back, down into your glutes and your hamstrings. Our last training sequence for today, we're going to do tempo push-ups. So again, we talk about this a lot. All the things that we're doing today, if you need to find a way to simplify the movement a little bit or to make it a little less complex, there's always, so for the push-ups, you can always go on your knees to do them. And actually, just this week I learned about this. This is great. If you're doing the push-ups and and doing it on 2 knees is too easy, but you're still not at the point where you can do them from the plank position, what's really great to do is to do them off 1 knee. I've never ever seen that before. I saw it on Instagram this week. I tried it out, and it is like it's right in between the two. So that's a really good extra step kind of on your way to doing full push-ups. Just something to keep in mind. That is when social media can be really cool. Like some of the things I learned about training, just scrolling on my phone, kind of blow me away sometimes. So yeah, tempo push-ups, definitely a few different ways to accommodate for your skill level in those. We're going to use a tempo either way. So whichever position you can use this tempo, 4 seconds on the way down, 2-second hold at the bottom, and then push up. When I say the bottom, I mean with your chest just barely hovering off the ground. So, if you can get it so that you can almost like feel your shirt on the ground, that is perfect. We're going to combine the tempo push-ups with donkey kicks. We're going to do a 2-second isometric hold on each side, and we're going to do 5 per side. So for the tempo push-ups, I'm going to do 5. For anyone doing this session, each sequence I recommend doing 2 to 3 rounds, 4 if you're feeling ambitious. So do a push-up, do the amount of push-ups where you can replicate it for 2 more sets. So say you think you could do 10 using the 4-2-1 tempo, maybe do 8 and do 3 sets of 8, that kind of thing. So leave 1 or 2 reps in reserve. It's a concept that we haven't talked about yet, but it's the idea of say you could do 1 more push-up, or know you could do 2 more push-ups, but you don't. That's leaving 1 rep in reserve or 2 reps in reserve. So yeah, 1 or 2 reps in reserve, and then repeat that for your next 2 rounds of this sequence. I'm going to just do 5 to demonstrate, and then for the donkey kicks, 2-second isometric hold, and I'm going to do 5 per side for those as well. All right. For the push-up position, everything nice in line, shoulders over the top of the wrists, 4 seconds on the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2. Back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 1, 2. Back up. All right. For the donkey kicks, we get back into that quadruped position that we just used for the bird dog rows, for the bird dogs. But now we're going to kick the bottom of our foot up towards the ceiling. So just like this right here, bring your foot up, reach up, 1, 2, bring it back down. Back up, 1, 2, and down. We're going to do 5 per side. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we are. Excuse me. So yeah, that's the tempo push-up and the donkey kick. The donkey kick's really great exercise for hamstrings. Hamstrings are a muscle that's kind of tough to really target doing bodyweight stuff. I mean, the squatting and the lunging, but I really feel it specifically in my hamstring doing those donkey kicks. So if that's an area that you're interested in really training, donkey kicks are a really great option. Excuse me, sorry, a bit of a cough today. All right, so yeah, we've worked through our warm-up. So we did the good morning and the posture press, Cossack squat and the crossover toe touch. Sequence 1, we did the tempo prisoner squat and the ISO 5 mountain climbers. Sequence 2, we did the exaggerated reaching lunge step with a 5-second ISO hold. Bird dog with also a 5-second ISO hold. Go through sequence 3 with the tempo push-up, 4 seconds, 2-second ISO, and then 1 back up. Did the donkey kicks with the 2-second ISO, 5 per side. Now we're going to go into a little cool down here. So it's just, we're going to do the Spiderman stretch, 20 seconds per side. Then we're going to go into child's pose for 20 seconds. We'll do 2 rounds of that, and that'll be the finale for the session today. So I'll take a second here, and then we'll go into the cool down and open it back up for some questions, and we'll go from there. All right. So, Spiderman Stretch. I think it's better to go from the side. So, get it back in your push-up position. Bring your foot up in front. Kind of push yourself forward onto your knee. 20 seconds over here. Feels nice after doing those lunges and the donkey kicks. Then back into the child's pose, 20 seconds here. And we'll pump back up and do one more round of each. So back into the Spider-Man. So you're trying to push that knee forward as far as you can, keeping your back in a good position. So you want this. Some good extension in your back. Push your knee forward as much as you can. Go back into child's pose, the last movement of the day. All right. So all right, that wraps up the training portion of the session.